Hello, everybody. Jason Sarney here, and I'm with my guy Jack Zulo of PhinManiacs. We're here in the morning of Week 5, going on into a Tampa Bay Buccaneers matchup. Jack, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking.
No problem. And you have a comedically large coffee cup compared to mine. I think it looks like a dome version of a mug. I like it.
I told my dad I needed a coffee mug, a big one, and he went to like one of those places where kids make their own coffee mug, and he made me and painted a gigantic coffee mug.
Gigantic is the perfect word. That really is. It's dwarfing my just plain, 8-ounce coffee mug. Looks like
Yeah,
you can
I've
put a
got like
gallon in there.
this has got to be like a 16. I don't know. This might be like a 20-ounce mug. It's almost like it's bad because you're like, I only had one cup of coffee, but did you really only have one cup?
You're at like 2.5 right now, which is probably, the over-under of receptions prior to DeVante Parker being ruled out for a guy like, let's say, a Preston Williams. But that brings me to talking about the news of the morning. DeVante Parker has been ruled out, Jack. And, throughout his career, I'm one of the first guys to defend him and say that he's had a nice Dolphin career. He's the 7th overall leading receiver in Miami history. And when you really kind of think about that with those injuries, it is rather surprising. But at the same time, commendable that when he's on the field, he tends to produce. But I'm bothered. I previewed that I'm going to be a little candid. I'm going to be a little vocal, a little bit more so than usual in terms of my criticisms of a player. Before I get into that, I'd like your take on him being ruled out prior to giving it a go on a pregame warm-up. What are your thoughts, Jack?
My thoughts are, first off and foremost, my hair looks really good today.
A+ hair day.
Yeah. Secondly, I as an artist and a performer, I feel a certain kinship with professional athletes because what they do is art and performance, and I feel that somehow DeVante Parker has been failed by the staff, by the investment in proper identification of physical ailments. Because I think, obviously he was he had injury concerns coming out of college. He had a broken foot coming out of Louisville that then all of a sudden the Dolphins drafted him. He did fall to 15. But he was a higher rated talent, but fell to 15 due to injury concerns. Had a pin put in his foot. But a lot of these little nagging injuries to me usually are due to body alignment, due to the way your body is lined up. So I blame the staff. Like if somebody continues to be injured, I blame the staff. Do I want DeVante Parker in the lineup? Sure. I have a saying, our strengths become our weaknesses and our weaknesses become our strengths. So going into the season, the Dolphins were like, we've got such a great receiver room. And we were thinking that it was going to be so strong. And we were concerned about the running game. I'd say the Dolphins have to evolve on the fly. Their running game has to become a strength somehow. And their receiving game, I mean, I love Waddle. I love what Waddle's been doing. I don't like how he's been used. I think somebody who's got, as many people on PhinManiacs have pointed out, has got like deep ball potential, has a high college average per reception, is really, they're trying to use him as like a slot, or a crossing guy, which they should, but I don't understand why the Dolphins aren't stretching the field with someone like Jalen Waddle. Obviously, Will Fuller is injured again. So DeVante Parker out. I mean, we know that DeVante Parker is not always available. So to rely on him as a number one receiver is the fault of management and is the fault of fans.
I agree with your comment that the staff medically maybe has failed DeVante Parker. Look, also the reason why I wanted to kind of and I'm not bashing DeVante Parker. I'm not at all. I'm a fan of his, you know.
Fan, you want him to play.
Exactly right. But I'm also a guy who understands that, and believe it or not, fans out there, young, old, medium, whatever, sometimes, and this is very true for a lot more players than we think, and I've learned this in a couple of years, sometimes the love of the game subsides. And when your body gets put through all what these guys get put through, and there might be potential of having a long life and career in another field or industry, or do something that they've always wanted to do at 29, 31, and be able to remember it and not wake up in pain and not have all the troubles that a 20-year, 15-year, God willing that they play that long if they want to. But sometimes you might want to call it. And I'm not saying that he's, I'll give you the floor in a second, Jack, but I'm not saying that he's the guy that, quote unquote, was reported that wanted to retire. In fact, I actually am. I had heard that he was the guy, or he had speculated that maybe he wanted to end his career this year. But you know what? He's playing now, so maybe he thought it over. His camp, they spoke, what have you. But I'm looking at a hamstring injury, and I don't want to be a pain management man. You know, I'm also looking at Will Fuller with a finger. These are not concussions where they did not pass protocol. These are not horrible, horrible, excruciating injuries where it could really detriment them long term. This is buck up and play, and I don't think DeVante gave it a go. At least fake it. And we didn't see him come out and do some warm-ups and run up and down. I mean, look, at the game last week when Byron Jones was out, he did not come back in, but you saw him on the sideline warming up, giving it a go, running back and forth. At least I was focused on him for a good 5 minutes, and I'm saying to myself, oh, he's going to come back in the game. He looks like he's trying. And then it was ruled that he wasn't going to go back in the game. DeVante woke up today like someone who wanted to, and pardon, I'm sorry, this is speculative, woke up like on someone on a Sunday night, wanted to call in sick to work, and then on Monday woke up, didn't give it a go, and then just called in sick to work. He kind of already probably made that up in his mind, and I think that has something to do with the fact that maybe his playing days in his mind are limited by his own want and desire. And if that's the case, this is next man up time. And I'm serious now. And I'm a little weirded out that our guy, Kirk Merritt, was not called up. They brought up Isaiah Ford. And now Preston Williams is a guy that we all need to step up today. And this is kind of the put up or shut up game. And Jack, I know you have things on your mind. I want you to take the mic away from me for a moment, please.
Well, you're a smart guy.
Yeah, I have my moments.
Oh, you have your moments. We all do. Everyone who's smart in the NFL retires early. You know, I would imagine DeVante Parker, who has a little side, online web cartoon. He's creative. He's intelligent. He's a dude who probably has irons in the fire and might be looking to post-career. But I also say this, man. Have you ever had an injury like that's detrimental that you got to work yourself back from? I mean, I've had injuries or sickness or illness where you got to work yourself back from it, and it wears on your spirit. It wears on your soul. Now imagine your profession is based on millimeter twitch reactions that either make you great or make you average. Because the difference between, as to quote Tony Robbins, the difference between great and fantastic is, or good and fantastic, is 2 millimeters. And if DeVante Parker has a tweaked hamstring that might be a tear for all we know, that could be, if you go today, you could get more injured. I mean, there's a difference between being injured and hurt. And it seems to me like DeVante Parker is a guy who goes all out. It seems like he goes all out, man. When he's making these catches down the field and like the hair standing up on my arms just thinking about it, he's going all out. And when you go all out, sometimes you get hurt or injured. And there's a difference between being hurt and injured. And if he's sitting, I would imagine he's injured, because injured means that you are at risk of hurting yourself more. And I would imagine that wears on his spirit and that wears on his soul. And it's not like the Dolphins are good. I mean, let's face it. My rant was funny in that, like, I want to enjoy the season. I don't want to sit there and get, stomach churning or frustrated or angry if the Dolphins don't live up to the expectations that we've been led to believe that they should meet. I want to just enjoy the season. And at the end of that rant, I was like, oh yeah, they're playing the Bucs this week. All right, they're going to be 1-4. They're not good, man. They don't have a good offensive line. There's a certain arrogance from the coaching staff that is rooted in the Patriot way. And the problem is with the Patriot way, the coaching staff, top to bottom, was on par with what Bill Belichick would consider and deem worthy of being on his coaching staff. So your offensive line, even if they looked ramshackle in week 2 or 3, by week 5, they're together. Same thing, your linebacking core. Like all of a sudden they get coached up. I don't know if the Dolphins have that depth of coaching to coach everybody up. So now you're DeVante Parker and you've got a hamstring tear, but you're 1-3 and you're going into Tampa to play the Bucs. This is a game on the schedule. Even if the Dolphins were 3-1, the coaching staff would be like, we're probably going to lose this game. We got to go in there and we got to put up a good fight. But why would you risk DeVante Parker in a game like this?
I mean, you're not wrong. It's almost, to me, it's not the best mentality if that is the case, because, you got to still all go into games any given Sunday. I believe that. And, the Dolphins do have players who I think can step up. And we mentioned Preston Williams. We'll even say
they've got Hunter Long. They've got Mike Gesicki. They've got weapons, man.
Exactly.
Again, I'm on the side of the player. I'm a big player supporter. I'm looking at the coaching staff. I'm looking at the coaching staff. The coaching staff is what makes the players play and gets them motivated. And this whole takes no talent vibe might have worked when they were coming off a horrible season. But now in year 3, take no talent is not what you want your players to be saying in post-game loss interviews.
I agree there. And the looking at the tape, let's watch the tape. Let's go to put out something good on the field. I mean, when I say that, forget all this vanilla offense. The coaching staff has got to be held accountable. And you're right. You mentioned the word weapons. And, and I'm going to go back a couple of games. You're in overtime and you do a little shovel pass to Mike Gesicki 3 yards behind that's not the most effective use of the weapon at all.
Well, it worked earlier. It worked earlier in the game. Why go back to that?
Correct, because now you're going to see Gesicki there. A smart linebacker, a smart defensive player will understand that, make the adjustment. Jalen Waddle, you mentioned it. This is a guy who, in Alabama's history of wide receivers, which is like wide receiver he's had 3 of the longest 5 plays in the school's history. College and pro, very different. But that's the type of player that there is. You don't expect him to be an 8-yard per catch guy, because that's what he is at the moment. You'd like him to be 14, 15, 16 around there. We're not going to get 19 yards per catch from him in the NFL. I get that, but go to the Raider game. That safety, we're going to talk about that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Horrible play calling. And to me, this experiment of the co-coordinators, already an F.
Right.
Unless you could argue differently. You bring in Charlie Fry as the kind of third musketeer in this play calling system that is netting 30th overall offense in the league. And at this point, you got to be happy they're not dead last.
Hey, pudding. You know what I like? Pudding. You know why? Because the proof is in the pudding.
Proof is in the pudding. And this is a game where, you know what? They're going to be down, Jack. Whether it's 3-0, 7-0, or whether it's 21-0. I believe at one point they're going to be down. So if you can't put the ball into the end zone, if they're settling for field goals, this is going to be, prepare yourself, Dolphin fans. It could be very ugly quickly. But if this offense could put together at least a tit for tat here, at least battle with Brady to the fourth quarter, the defense could at least be in position to get a play and maybe put the Dolphins in position to win the game.
You said defense. Raekwon Davis is back this week. How does that affect the defensive running game? Run defense.
That's a beautiful segue, actually, into a stat that actually makes me sick. Last year, they did not allow a single running back, over 100 yards. The only guy was Kyler Murray in a 106-yard scrambling effort against that, during the win at Arizona.
Yep.
3 running backs so far this year, Jack, in 4 games. And these are not good running backs, save Jonathan Taylor. He's good. But Peyton Barber looked like Tiki Barber that week.
Yeah.
And we also led Damian Harris of the Patriots run all over the Dolphins for over 100 yards.
Chunk plays, too. Chunk plays.
Chunk plays. Raekwon Davis will help because he trickled down that defense into, making it difficult for running backs to get through holes, and it makes it easier for the linebackers to get on the other side of the line.
It also makes it easier for Wilkins to use his athleticism if he's not getting doubled up, right?
Correct. I mean, there's a reason why Flores was so excited when he was drafted. It's because what he does, not necessarily getting a tackle or getting a sack, but he's a menace in the middle of that trench, and it floods the run lane. So hopefully we can get that healthy Davis back for maybe 50-60% of the snap counts. We might not see him at full capacity.
I don't want to see him at full capacity.
Right.
I'd rather see him get in and get his sea legs back, get his game legs back, so this way he's kind of ready to go next week and the week after as they up his snap counts.
That's fine by me. And while the Dolphins get a beast back in Raekwon Davis, this is huge. The Bucs lose a beast in Rob Gronkowski. And I'll tell you, for a Dolphin team that generally has some difficulty against the tight end, this is huge news. They cannot make Cameron Brate look like Rob Gronkowski. So what are your thoughts on the Gronker being on the sideline for this one?
Well, I've been watching the Gronk, in my fantasy league on another team. Like, wow, he's putting up points. But I also think that there's so many weapons. I mean, like Antonio Brown, he's going to get his number called today. I think Cameron Brate is serviceable. I think he's a good tight end, and I view the quarterback on the other side of the field to be, I don't even think it's arguable, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. I don't care what anyone comes at me as, like, you got to respect the guy's game. You got to respect his dedication to the game. And I think he'll be able to, because even if Cameron Brate catches, a touchdown and a couple of big third down seam routes, that's still enough. Gronkowski isn't lighting up the numbers. He's just catching touchdowns and he's catching like big balls. But like that, you could supplement that with a decent tight end game. And then plus you got just weapons all over the place. Like first off, Leonard Fournette is now establishing himself as a star running back again. And you still got Ronald Jones, who is serviceable, catch the ball out of the backfield. You could be running two running back sets. I say Rob Gronkowski being out is big, but with the Bucs, it's where the next man up strategy or philosophy actually is real. The Dolphins, the next man up strategy isn't real because the depth of talent isn't there. You could say there's some good defensive linemen like Sealer. Like you could say there's, some, they've got a lot of people in the room for the DBs. On offense. They're technically supposed to have good receiving crew. They should have deep tight end crew with Gesicki. Durham Smythe could catch the ball. Who's catching the ball coming out of college? Hunter Long, is he active today? I didn't even see because he's been inactive.
I did not believe that I saw him inactive or active officially on any chart, but I haven't heard that he was going to be, unavailable at the moment. So we'll see when that comes out. Hopefully it is out.
So with Gronkowski, I say that there's enough firepower on the other side of the ball. I would say there's enough firepower on the Bucs offense. And not only that, there's a quarterback who can utilize it all.
It's pretty important when you have the quarterback, and everyone's waiting for Tua to come back. So am I. Jacoby Brissett is, he's Jacoby Brissett. And what the play calling and the offensive coordinators have to do is put him and the skill position players in position to succeed. For example, Preston Williams, without DeVante Parker, should be playing more than probably expected if DeVante was going to be in, because, you're
Sure.
progressing him back, what have you. He might have to be called upon a lot more. So instead of throwing 1 or 2 yard slant routes to him, let him work his magic on the sideline. That's what he does extremely well, using his size, using his toe tapping ability, which he reminds me, let's all curb enthusiasm because I don't want to say he's like this player, but with his ability to catch a sideline pass and get those feet in, he's like a version of a Chris Chambers. Because that's when Chris Chambers made his money, was on the sidelines and deep into the end zone, where he'd have to kind of toe tap before the whites to the back of the end zone. That's where you want. That was his first touchdown against the Ravens as a rookie, Preston. A beautiful catch where he caught it, fell out of bounds in the back of the end zone, got his feet in. Don't put him in position where it's going to be a catch and hit. Don't put a Brissett in position where he's throwing an errant pass in the middle of the field high, where Preston might have to go up and get it, and then he gets nailed, or anybody for that matter.
Here's what I think the problem is with the Dolphins offense.
Please.
There is an expectation of perfection from the coaching staff, and perfection is the enemy of good. In the NFL, you don't have to be great anymore. You don't have to be able to fight off hand checks and jamming 8 yards down the line. You have to be good. And good consistently is great. The coaching staff, I think, is trying to be perfect, trying to be like protective of turnovers. And that's not, if you have to be perfect to win, you don't have confidence in your team. You don't have confidence in yourself. And let's face it, guys, Brian Flores is coaching for his life this season. We didn't expect that. We did not expect that. We came out of a 10-6, season when we just missed the playoffs. But remember, we got steamrolled by the Bills. I mean, you get steamrolled by the Bills like the Dolphins did in last year's, final season game, and then steamrolled by the Bills in week 2. And, it's like, wait a second, those guys are Super Bowl contenders, and that's how we perform on the field. I mean, not even good, not even competitive. So I don't know what the coaching staff expects to game plan today, but I think, and I touched upon it in my rant, and my rant's obviously supposed to be comedic. I touched upon it with they're going to bust out the flipper puma this week.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, in other words, I'm saying that their offense needs to be creative, and by creative, I think they need to be aggressive. And, they got to understand that if you believe so much in your defense, then you have to be aggressive on offense and let your defense, bail you out if need be. Because right now, the way their offense is playing, you got your defense on the field for a majority of the time of the game, and they're gassed by the third quarter.
That, and you just need to keep the other offense and Brady sitting down. I mean, right. It's literally simple that if you're going to lose the time of possession, if you're going to lose the turnover battle, if you're going to lose the penalty battle, there's virtually zero chance you're going to win the game. And the problem with the Dolphins is that they're not doing what their strengths were last year, which was, turnover creating. They are creating turnovers, but they're not getting off the field, and they're doing it stupidly with penalties. Last year, they were one of the top teams in efficiency with limited penalties. This year, they're double, essentially, Jack. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's basically 4 penalties per game at this point last year. They're at 7. Yeah. And yardage-wise, they're over 100 a game yards per game that they're giving up.
Yeah, and that's like they're kind of inexcusable head penalties.
Right.
Listen, there was a face mask, or there was a roughing the passer face mask last week. I didn't agree with
the Jalen Phillips on the shoulder pad, but close.
Yeah, no, I think Agba actually. I think the penalty should have been called on Agba, because I think it was Agba's hand, because Agba made the hit on the quarterback, and I think his hand grazed the face mask. But that's a ticky tack penalty that really, I think I just don't think the refs, who are not full year-round employees of the NFL, I just don't think that, they are going to be able to make calls, being weak. They're basically weekend warriors, the refs. And that's not their fault. That's the NFL's fault, because if you have year-round employees, you got to pay them year-round. I think the NFL makes enough fucking money. Excuse my blue. I think the NFL makes enough money that they can have year-round officials. But you know what? Again, I say this to people. I think the NFL enjoys or encourages the WWE style of, oh my God, that guy just hit my favorite wrestler in the head with a chair while the ref's back was turned. Because there's a lot of penalties that feel like that. It creates drama. It creates stuff to talk about, to click about the next day in the Monday morning quarterback world, which is now, all week quarterback world. So the Dolphins need to just play confidently. And they're not, when you're committing penalties like that are dumb penalties, it's like in basketball, you see a guy get beat and then he fouls the guy, and like in basketball, you get away with that because you get 5 fouls and you have team fouls. But in football, you can't get away with, getting beat. And then because you got beat, you like smack somebody in the head.
On third down or something like that, right?
Right. And penalties smack of desperation. Penalties smack of desperation. Once you're there, you're desperate. And the Dolphins, let's face it, they're desperate right now.
I would agree. There is desperation. There is definitely desperation because if you go 1-4, I don't care if there's an extra game. I don't know the numbers. There's no numbers that you can really quantify really this year because of the 17 games. But if it was a 16-game schedule, you'll probably be looking at less than 8% of teams that would make the playoffs or something like that.
But bro, not only that, like barring a winning streak, like a 6-game winning streak or 7-game winning streak, which given how they played so far, I don't see that happening,
I mean,
you're also talking, the Dolphins traded their first-round pick. Their first-round pick is with Philly right now, and it's not like there's slot protection like in the NBA. If the Dolphins wind up going 3-14, which I don't think they're going to go 3-14, but we have San Francisco's a little bit of a mess right now, like swapping Jimmy Garoppolo out for Trey Lance. There's a little bit of uncertainty there, but still, man, like we were playing for like an 11-6 record or a 12-5 record this year,
right?
Like competing with the Bills in the AFC and getting to the second round of the playoffs at least. And right now, barring Tua coming back and looking like Drew Brees and Steve Young, like people projected him to be, which again, I'm saying patience with Tua, because when you talk about the quarterbacks he was compared to coming out of college, they were quarterbacks who needed time to cook. They needed
Correct.
time in the oven.
Correct.
We could all say we want Justin Herbert and we wish that the Dolphins drafted him. Personally, the way the Dolphins won last year and seemingly set themselves up for this year being a more competitive season, Justin Herbert would have fit that schedule better, where you have a quarterback who could hide some of the issues with the offensive line. But at the same time, you have Tua. He's coming back from broken ribs. That's not something that should keep him out. He'll be in a flak jacket next week. If the Dolphins could play a competitive game this week, and dare I say, sneak out a win in Tampa, that could be a great sign. If they could play it close, that might be detrimental, because then you lost a close game like you lost in Vegas 2 weeks ago. But I don't know, man. What are the most important factors that the Dolphins have to establish that you think this week?
I mean, offensive identity, number one. I know you're going up against the Super Bowl champions, but if they don't have an offensive identity from the get-go, they're going to be in trouble, because Brady could literally have 3 touchdowns and 3 offensive possessions, which segues to what you really want to do, and that's get to Brady. The sacks have to come. These guys, Agba, Van Ginkel, Jalen Phillips, last game was great. He played fantastic. They have to get to the quarterback. They have to finish the play, because they're hitting the quarterback well over 20, 25 times so far this season. Only got about 4 or 5 sacks. So if they could get to Brady, hit him, and sack him,
and hit him legally.
That's the thing too, Jack. You're right. Like they have to. There's probably this much of Brady that you could really hit him clean that the refs won't even think about throwing a flag. If it's too low, too high, you know he's going to get those flags. So that's something to watch for. And on third down, I'll tell you, if Waddle, I'm sorry, if Jalen Phillips is anywhere near that helmet, rookie on Brady, who's getting that call?
Right.
So this is, I am prepared for this one. I hope everyone is prepared for this one. But what I would like to see is 4 quarters worth of competitive football. And then if there's a 2-minute warning and the Dolphins are in it, you really like to see that. And I do want to let everyone get on with their day prior to the game. I'll give you your last thoughts here, but I will show everyone that I did promise on Twitter that if Preston Williams, everyone knows he's my guy. This is one of those days where it's like put up or shut up. I get it. DeVante Parker's out. Will Fuller's out. Preston Williams is going to line up on the starting outside of the X's. He's going to be on the boundary of one of those sides, opposite probably Mac Hollins, with Jalen Waddle and Albert Wilson and Gesicki roam in the middle of the field. This is an autographed card of Preston Williams, part of my collection. If he scores a touchdown, this is going to a fan. We'll figure it out after the fact, but this will go to a Preston Williams Dolphin fan if he scores a touchdown, mailed in tomorrow. But hopefully we can see more than a Preston Williams touchdown. Hopefully we can see about 4 or 5. Jack, that's what it's going to take, 28, 30 points. Do the Dolphins have a chance and we'll get a score from you?
Yeah, I think one thing that the Dolphins have going for them is familiarity with Tom Brady. We saw last week the Patriots played. The Patriots played them close. The Patriots played them well. If the Dolphins could stay in their lane and people not try to do too much, and the offense isn't trying to be too perfect, I think we could have a competitive game. I'm hoping we can have a competitive game. But you know what? We're going to learn a lot about who these Dolphins are. Coming out of that Indianapolis Colts game where the Colts needed a win, came into the Dolphins' home stadium and just out-muscled, out-urgency'd, outplayed the Dolphins on all 3 factors of the game. And the coaching staff got abused, if you don't mind me saying. I think the Dolphins have to come in with that kind of urgency that the Colts came into Miami with last week. The Dolphins have to go into Tampa with that kind of urgency.
Urgency, desperation. Sometimes that breeds big plays. That breeds creativity. I mean, look, the Dolphins were 0-2 in 2008. They came out with the Wildcat. You know, I'm not saying come out with that or the Flipper Puma. Jack, would the Flipper Puma be like a run attack? What would it be if you had to picture a Flipper Puma attack?
A lot of smacking and scratching.
A lot of smacking and scratching. How many people would touch the ball in a Flipper Puma? Maybe 4?
Probably it would be like basketball. Like you'd be working around before you score. And you could feel it. You feel the tension build.
That would be phenomenal. I'll tell you what, maybe a Flipper Puma would be something like you got Waddle on a reverse, you flip it to a Puma like Albert Wilson who throws it to a combination of the two with Mike Gesicki. And then
like Gesicki and Hunter Long both catch it and run down the field, both holding it.
Instead of the high five, they do like the joint arm in arm.
The joint arm in arm running down the field.
And they'll split the touchdown. 3 points each for the fantasy players.
Yeah.
If that happens, Jack, we're going to go play the lottery. I'll tell you that much. But any last minute of where could everybody find you? Because you're not just a football man. You are an actor. You're a comedian. You do a lot of fun stuff. And I really would love for you to get people to where you're at on the socials. So go for it, sir.
On social media, I'm at Jack Zulo on both Instagram and Twitter. On Facebook, I'm at Jack Zulo Acts Funny. Currently, I am now in Brooklyn, New York. And I am moving into my apartment. But if you check my socials or check my website at www.jackzulo.com, there'll be updates. You can sign up for my newsletter there about where I'm performing, who I'm performing with, and what I'm doing online. But currently, I'm gearing up for the New York City Marathon. I'm running the New York City Marathon. It's the 50th New York City Marathon, raising money for American Cancer Society, Team Determination. So, all that stuff is listed on my socials. And if you're watching the New York City Marathon, I'll probably wear my Fins gator, my Miami Dolphins gator on my head so that you could pick me out of a crowd.
I love that. Very commendable stuff in raising money for that. And, any type of cancer fundraising is right up, my alley. I love philanthropy, and good luck on the marathon. I know you will finish it. Do you have a time that you're aiming for?
I'm aiming for like 4:38 is
4 minutes, 38 seconds.
No. 4 hours and 38 minutes.
Gotcha. I know you're quick, but you're not that quick.
Not that quick. Yeah, this is going to be my third New York City Marathon and my fourth marathon overall. And most of my marathons hover around the 5-hour mark. I'm looking at 4 hours and 40 minutes. You get listed in the New York Times. So I want to get listed in the New York Times. So if I could get to 4 hours and 38 minutes, I would be excited and happy.
I'm rooting for you. That marathon's approaching, as is, believe it or not, over the 25% hump. It would be this week, but with 17 games after this game, the Dolphins will have over 25% of the season to kind of analyze, and let's hope that there's one more win in that column. So for Jack Zullo, the rest of the crew over at PhinManiacs.com, and for everybody over at BetUS.com, who is our proud sponsor. So, obviously they've been doing it for years. Head on over to BETUS.com. You're going to get 125% discount or sign up bonus, or a 200% crypto bonus. Jack, I know you know crypto, or I assume you know crypto, but head on over to BetUS. PhinManiacs is the promo code you need. So for Jack again, Jason Sarney here on the PhinManiacs crew. Fins up. Let's get a W in Tampa, everybody. Take care.
Cheers.